Good evening. This is Dr. David A. Paget, and I'm going to demonstrate for you the instructions for Geographic Information Systems Assignment 5, Mapping Globe Atmosphere Data using ArcGIS Online. So let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. And so here we are at the class eLearn page, and you can access the assignment at assessment, then Dropbox, and then it's GIS assignment 5. And so I'm going to go in here. This is going to look a little different because I'm using the instructor's view, but pretty much the information is the same. So notice what you'll see here, of course, are several files, including the data sheets that you completed on October the 7th. So now you'll also download the instructions and the spreadsheet where you'll enter your data. So let's go to the instructions. So again, this is GIS assignment 5, Globe Atmosphere and Surface Temperature Protocol Data Mapping with ArcGIS Online. So what you're going to do is take the data that we collected and then create a data visualization using ArcGIS Online with those data that we collected on Monday, the surface temperature, cloud, and current temperature data. Now, if you already have a free public account with ArcGIS Online, you can skip these first 4 steps. If not, then you will need to get an Esri account, a free public account. So after you have your account set up, you'll next move to the process of building your attribute data table. So first, you'll get the data that you completed. Later on, you're also going to get data from another classmate. So if you were in the morning 9:35 a.m. section of Geography 1010, of course, you'll get your data. The other data you'll get will be from someone in the other class, the afternoon section. If you're in the afternoon section, you'll get your data, and then you'll get data from somebody in the morning section, okay? So you'll get your data. Let's go through that process. So let's take a look at the data. So I'm going to pretend that I'm a student. So here is David Paget, cloud data, and David Paget, surface temperature data. We're going to start with the surface temperature data sheet. And then after downloading the spreadsheet, this is what the spreadsheet's going to look like. So I am David Paget. You're going to enter your name into this for both records. I've already entered the school name, TSU. Now, for the time, we're going to go to the surface temperature data sheet. So when we were at the old courtyard northwest corner, it was 10:35 a.m. Or we'll just say 10:35 in 24-hour clock time. By the time we got to the old courtyard lawn, it was 10:45. So we'll enter that into the spreadsheet here. Next, we'll get the globe current temperature. And so that current temperature was 20 degrees Celsius at the Old Courtyard northwest corner. No need in putting in the C. And then, and this is the data that I collected. You'll enter your own data. So that's, just don't get confused. You're not going to see this data sheet. You're going to see your own. When we got out on the out onto the grass, it was 23 degrees Celsius. That's what we got. Okay, now for the surface temperature, what you'll have to do is average these values. So when I average those values for the Old Courtyard northwest corner site, I wound up with 26.7 degrees Celsius. And for the Old Courtyard Lawn Northwest site, I wound up with 20.1 degrees Celsius. Of course, the land cover for the Old Courtyard Lawn Northwest is concrete. I mean, Old Courtyard Northwest corner is concrete. Old Courtyard Lawn, of course, is grass. Okay, so now remember the latitude we got for the first site was when we were doing the cloud observation. So that is, so I'll go get your cloud sheet. And then that was 36.16524 latitude, and then minus negative, remember we're in the Western Hemisphere, 86.83087 longitude at the Old Courtyard northwest corner. And then of course, as I instructed you when you got data for the second site, which was the Old Courtyard Lawn site, we walked out there to the second site. Notice here's the latitude and longitude there. And so that was 36.16491, and then minus 86.83066. Okay, so next we had a cloud cover percent, and we know that was 0. And well, actually, the cloud cover percent in the morning was really less than 10%, but we'll just make that 10, because if you remember, we did see a contrail. So that was less than 10%. Or maybe we can just say 1% just to make it a little bit more accurate, right? And so we had the same cloud reading, cloud types, none, well, contrail, excuse me. Yeah, contrail, and then contrail. And then we took the wind speed at both sites. So wind speed at the Old Courtyard lawn site was 0.5 meters per second. Just have to enter that. We know what the values are. And then when we got out on the lawn, I didn't get any lawn personally. So I don't know about you. Okay, so that's our first set of data here. Okay, so I'm just going to save that. So now let's go back to the instructions. So we've done that. And so actually what we're going to do is we're going to fill out this table in its entirety first. So now we're going to go to the other class. So mine is going to be the same person because it's just me. I'm using this as a demonstration. So now I'm going to go to the afternoon class. Okay. So find the student's data in the afternoon class, or if you're in the afternoon class, find the student's data in the morning class. Okay. So now I'm going to pretend that I am another person. And so Paget, I'll say this other student is Dr. P. Dr. P, Dr. P, and the time data was collected in the afternoon was 1346. Remember, we're using universal time, so that was 1346. And then when we went out on the lawn, the time was 1355. Okay, so the current temperature on at 1346 was 22 degrees Celsius. Oops. And then we went out on a lawn. We observed a temperature of 24 degrees Celsius. Then again, we're going to average those surface temperatures. So when I average the surface temperatures for the Old Courtyard northwest corner, I wound up with 28.8 degrees Celsius. And then when I did the same for the lawn, I got 30.7 degrees Celsius. So again, we have concrete, concrete, grass. Okay, we're gonna go back and get our latitude and longitude. So we have to go to the northwest corner. Latitude and longitude came from the cloud sheet. So go to the cloud sheet. And so in the cloud sheet, we got latitude 36.51546. And then the longitude was minus 86.83087. Then for the other sheet, afternoon, here's a lat long here. So lat long here is 36.16491. And then Longitude is minus 86.830, oops, 83066. Okay, so cloud cover percent in the afternoon. Now in the afternoon, I don't think we didn't see any clouds in the afternoon. Absolutely none. And so no clouds in the afternoon. 0 and 0% coverage. And so we got that from the clouds here. So I didn't fill that out, but I know it was 0. And yeah, 0% and no clouds at all, just like in the morning. So 0, so 0, none, none. And then wind speed over at the courtyard northwest corner is 0.7 meters per second. And then we got onto the lawn. It was 1 meter per second. And so you save this. So here we have our spreadsheet. Attribute table here. So I'm going to take to go from now, I'm going to go to the directions. And so I'm going to save that as a CSV file. And then you save it as a CSV file. And then I'm going to add it to the map. So I'm going to log into my ArcGIS Online account. Sign in. Which one of these I'm going to have ready to go here. So I'm going to sign in. I recommend that you use the, you go to map, and I recommend that you, well, it is open in the map, open in the original version of ArcGIS Online. Or the classic, map viewer classic option, use that one. Okay, so we're in there. So next I have to save my data as a first I'm going to save it as an Excel workbook. And then I'm going to save it as a comma delimited CSV file. And next I'm going to add it to my map, add layer from file. Choose file, I'm going to navigate to that file I just created on my hard drive. Open it, and I'm going to import the layer. Okay, so in the instructions, you're told to, we're going to do this first layer. We're going to call it the globe current temperature. We're going to point to globe current temperature. Now, if you want, you'll go to options, change this symbol color. Let's see, this is surface temperature. I believe we'll probably make that fill like I'll maybe red. You want to get some contrast. Make the transparency about 50%. Hit okay. We're good. and hit OK. And done. That's the current temperature. So notice now we have the current temperature, which is the ambient temperature. Now we're going to add the same layer again. So it's not going to copy it over. It's going to create another layer. And so let's point this one to surface temperature. And let's go to options. And since it's the surface, let's change the fill to green, something like that. We'll see how that works out. And we'll make the transparency again 50% and hit OK. And then hit OK. Done. And so, okay, so once you've added the data twice, you'll notice that you have two different layers here. And so we're going to call this first, I'm going to go to the legend. And so I'm going to go to content. I'm going to rename this layer, rename. And so I'm going to call this surface temperature. I'm going to call this current temperature, ambient temperature. Okay, and I'm going to call this layer surface temperature. I'm going to rename it surface temperature. Okay, so here we have the data that was, well, let's change the base map. Let's change the base map to imagery hybrid. And so we had a little bit of an offset here with our data on the old courtyard northwest corner. But one thing that you can clearly see is that the surface temperature, let's see, in green, if we click on here, notice that this data was gathered at 13:46. Looks like the program put a little comment in there. So that's the afternoon data. Okay. And so notice that the afternoon data clearly has a surface temperature that is higher than the ambient temperature. And in the afternoon, that was the afternoon. In the morning, notice that in the morning, we have a bigger difference between the surface temperature, the current temperature, and the surface temperature. So in the morning, there was the greater difference between the surface temperature and the current temperature. If we go over here to this point, now we're out on the grass. Now these points almost aligned exactly in terms of lat long. So we have the two sites. Here's the afternoon site. And then we have to really zoom in here. So we have the afternoon site. And then we have, so this is the afternoon site. If we click in here, notice this is the morning site. So at the morning site, we go all the way to the middle, notice that we have a only a 3-degree difference between the current temperature and the surface temperature. And then also we go through, this is afternoon, more than 6-degree difference between the surface temperature and the current temperature. Then we go back, here's the morning. Again, 3-degree difference. Afternoon, again, 6-degree temperature differential. And then if we compare the temperatures over grass that were taken in the morning. So here's the grass, there's morning. So the surface temperature, in fact, was lower than the ambient temperature over the grass in the morning. But let's look at, let's see, this one I believe is morning also. Notice that in this case, the surface temperature was 6.7 degrees Celsius higher than the current temperature. So that's an interesting observation. Surface temperature lower here, surface temperature higher here in the morning. And if we can get the afternoon temperatures, notice that the surface temperature is higher here in the afternoon by 6.7 degrees Celsius, but in the afternoon, actually about the same difference over here in the old northwest corner, which is interesting. But if you look at the temperatures themselves, so you had 28.8 degrees surface temperature there in the old northwest corner, but here the afternoon surface temperature was 30 degrees, only about, well, it is actually a couple of degrees higher. So there are several things observations that you can make by looking at the data. And so when you get to the point where you're analyzing your data, you'll have to answer several questions. Now, of course, you'll save your map. Don't forget to do that. Save your map. I'm going to save it as GI 10, GIS assignment 5, demo, fall 2024, tags, ArcGIS. I'm going to save the map, and then I'm going to share the map here. Share the map here, make sure everyone can see it. Click done down here, go back to share. And then copy that link, and you're going to paste that right into the Word document. Preferably make it a live link. And then you're going to answer these questions. What about the current and surface temperatures that you observed at the two observation sites? What differences did you see in the temperatures during the morning versus afternoon class meetings? How did different land cover features influence your observations? Could your cloud observations have any influence upon your current and surface temperature observations? What about the weather? Share any other interesting findings you had during the completion of this exercise. Again, so if you have any questions, please ask. So this is what the final result of your map kind of should look like. And so you'll turn in this sheet along with your Excel and CSV data sheets. And as usual, if you have any questions, please don't fail to ask me.